also got the trucker hat there, the hut and the trucker hat, and then I don't even know about the other two out there, Master Allison. Oh goodness, nice, very high quality.
Where was that?
Okay, cool.
He's gone. We've lost Eminem, folks. That was it. It was the last known recording of Eminem right there. He's gone.
Was he at Bacchus Mud again?
He's streaming Bacchus mod on Discord to us right now. Uninjected, waiting for you to start rocking. What? We've lost him. He's gone. Oh,
Mike,
hello.
Good.
Hey, we can see you muting and unmuting your mic. I just don't think I just think he doesn't want to talk about King.
All right, I'm good now.
Wait, what? He's still muted.
Wait, he's still muted. Wait, hold up. This man's hacked Discord, dude.
Oh, he's insane.
Hacker.
Holy
Dude, I didn't know. Dude, new update on Bacchus Mud for Discord. Not fair.
Hacked Discord, dude.
So let's talk about King Bub.
All right, welcome back to our YouTube channel, everybody, and we have got something a little bit special in store for you guys today. We have the first ever week in review for Nemesis. I'm joined by a couple of my good friends here. You may know them from the streams, you may not. If you don't know them, I honestly don't know where you've been, but you should be watching our Twitch channel. Link in the description, by the way, not a sellout. But we got Eminem here, the Eminem VP. How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to see who's been doing the best this season so far.
As am I. We're also joined by Skeezus himself, the 50-year-old smoker.
Yeah, thanks for having me and introducing me as a 50-year-old smoker. I appreciate it.
I'm just going off what the sheet says, so we gotta follow the doc. So
It's facts.
that's just how it is. And then we've got the Chipmunk Man also joining us, the streamer and self-proclaimed worst player in Nemesis Game League history.
Who changed the doc, dude? What the frick, dude? It says the
Dude,
best.
I just go off what the doc says. I'm just the host here.
Literally
You can't. I'm just the host here.
It says the best, and it said the worst. So.
We can't say it. We can't say that on YouTube. Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on.
All right.
That's too much.
Anyways, we've got a lot in store for you guys today. We're gonna go through all the leagues in review for this first week. We're gonna talk about Prospect League, Challenger League, Rival League, and the new Titan League. A lot to talk about. We're also gonna be going through Player of the Week candidates for each league. We also have matchups, the best matchups from the past week, and then we've also got some things to look forward to. We've got Saturday Night Rocket League coming up. Should be today if you're watching this video. It should be later tonight, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely stick around. We got a couple of those games. We'll be previewing those and more in just a little bit. But yeah. All right. First league we're going to be talking about is the Prospect League. And Prospect League last season was definitely one of our crazier leagues. Everybody knows the situation with Rooks and Vipers, and that was definitely a crazy storyline last season. And they actually matched up. They matched up in this first week, and the Rooks took them down 3-2 in Game 5, and the Rooks were actually dead last in the power rankings. According to this, it looks like I think every team ranked them dead last, and they were able to pull off a victory. So definitely a bit crazy. Eminem, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I think they should be last either way. Vipers had a terrible game, in my opinion, and yeah.
Yeah, one of their players got banned, so like mid-series, so I don't think it should count. Series deleted, over.
Hey, well, I would always just throw in there a good piece of advice for everybody, and maybe this is something we can all take into our hearts. It's don't get banned.
I think that's some great advice.
I wonder who you're talking to.
That's just how it goes. If you don't get banned, then you can't get banned. It's how life works. Mm-hmm. But
of course.
Anyways, looking on a couple of other matches. So one of the matches that interests me the most was the first match of the season. Actually, opened up opening day, and that was Melons versus Origin. And Melons came into this one, according to the power rankings, Melons and Origin middle of the pack here. You got Melons at 5, Origin at 6. But in my opinion, and obviously I'm the GM of Origin, so I got to throw that out there. Season 1 champions, by the way. Chipmunk knew was coming. I had to throw it out there. But in my honest opinion, I think Melons and Origin are going to be the two teams at the end of the season. They're going to be fighting for it all, at least in the playoffs, or maybe even at the very end. I think it's going to be Melons versus Origin.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Austin's delusional, but I think it was a good series. I saw the series score 3-2. I know Melons are pretty decent, but I have no idea how the series went because we didn't see it on stream or anything. We just saw the series score.
Yeah, also looking at it, the Melons, I mean, I just think, honestly, I put the Melons, when I was doing my power rankings, I put the Melons first. There's a lot of hype built up around them, and they have a pretty solid roster. They won both their games. You talked about a 3-2 win over Origin. Also took down Tora 3-1. So they're sitting pretty atop the Eastern Conference right now. Have a 1-game lead over the next 3 teams. So they're sitting pretty right there. And Skies, it's got to be a good feeling to start off 2-0 and lead the top of the conference.
Yeah, I mean it's a solid start. They really need to try to keep it going if they can, if possible. But we'll see if the season 1 defending champions Origin can run into them into the playoffs. I'd like to see a solid series in the playoffs come out for Prospect League, get some hype around them. But see what happens. But hopefully we don't have anything happen where they end up like the Drakes last season. So
Drakes, yeah, we'll definitely talk about the Drakes a little bit later. Drakes from Challenger League last season. We'll definitely talk about them a little bit later. But yeah, Melons coming up in their schedule. They've got the Rooks and the Vipers next week. So 2 of those teams have some rich history. Just talked about them. So we'll see the Melons versus Rooks and Vipers. We'll see if they are going to be able to hold on to that 2-0 record in the Prospect League. And speaking of 2-0 record, there is one other team in the Prospect League as a 2-0 record, and that would be Faded. They went with back-to-back sweeps, first over Vipers, then over Wyverns. Second one, I believe that one was on stream, so we got to see that one. But Eminem, what can you tell us about this Faded roster, back-to-back sweeps?
Well, I can tell you that I definitely did not expect the back-to-back sweeps from Faded. I saw preseason a scrim between Vipers and Faded, and Faded looked like they were just stuck on their side the whole time, and they lost very badly. And then it comes to this first game of the season, and then they just destroy the Vipers. And I mean, I don't really know if it's a fluke week for Faded or it was a fluke week before. What's going on with Faded? But I definitely have high hopes for them going into the season.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0 start with back-to-back 3-0s. The Faded has got to be a team to watch out for. Ranked 8th in the power rankings. No one really saw this team coming at all, and they just came out of nowhere, and they've got the top spot in the Western Conference. So those are the 2-0 teams in the Prospect League right now, Faded and Melons. We'll have to keep an eye on those two teams. They are going to play a little bit later in the season. They play on July 1st, so that is not this upcoming week, but the week after. That'll be Monday, and I'm sure that'll definitely be a match to watch out for. And potentially, if those two teams are still undefeated, we could be looking at a really solid game right there. That would be a matchup between 4-0 teams, I believe, maybe even 5-0 at that point. But actually, that'll be Wednesday. That matchup would happen. It looks like July 1st is a Wednesday. But potentially 5-0 teams at that point, and that'll be definitely something that we'll keeping our eyes on as the Prospect League goes forward. But another thing I want to bring up here is we also this weekend, obviously, we have today for you guys who are watching, we have Saturday Night Rocket League coming your way, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk a little bit about that matchup later. That's Origin versus Velocity will be the first one for Prospect League. We'll talk about that one later. But what I want to touch on here are the Prospect League Player of the Week candidates. We have a couple listed on here, and we have them for all the leagues here. We're not saying necessarily that one of these people is going to win, but these are kind of the three of the people that we're looking at. So, Chipmunk, what can you tell us about the first candidate that we have listed on there?
Well, JK, he's one of the candidates, and I've seen him just around the Discord a lot, so I know he's active, but I haven't really seen him play much. I just have seen him play some six-mans, but that's about it. And I know he's pretty decent, but that's about all I know from JK.
Yeah, I can add a couple of things on to JK there. He is on Melons, so one of the guys that obviously this Melons team started off really strong. JK's had a solid week for Nemesis, and he's definitely a guy to watch out for. Like you talked about, he's definitely active, and I'm sure with the start that Melons have, obviously when a team goes 2-0, that's gonna bring some attention your way, for sure, without a doubt. So JK definitely someone to watch for. Looking at JK's stats, I have them pulled up here. We've got 0.89 goals per game for JK, 1.0 saves, and 0.67 assists. So he's been around, and he's been doing some good work for his team, for Melons, to get them to 2-0. So he's definitely a guy to watch for sure on Player of the Week. So next person we have on the list as a candidate is Box Turtles. I actually know a little bit about Box, but I'm going to give this one to Skies. Skies, do you know anything about our boy Box Turtles here?
I cannot say I know too much about him, but I feel like I've seen him. I've heard his name get thrown around a little bit, but seeing as he's on the Rooks taking down the Vipers the other day, I'm assuming he was there to give them that little push over to top off the series, minus the ban, of course. But yeah, I have high hopes for him throughout this season, and hopefully we can see him on an all-star team or something along the lines of that throughout this season.
Yeah, for sure. I've known Box for quite a bit. He's definitely a great guy and a good person to be around. And yeah, this week, he had a very solid week. 0.9 goals per game, 1.0 saves, 0.8 assists. So he played all of the 10 games for Rooks. Both of their series for Rooks went to Game 5. They unfortunately lost the first one to Ember, but they came back and got the 3-2 over Vipers, and Box was definitely a huge part of that. Really putting a lot of work in there. So Box is definitely an MVP or a Player of the Week candidate for Week 1. And then the last candidate we have on here is another player from Melons. We have JD Plays Eminem. What can you tell us about JD?
Well, I think JD has a decently interesting story coming in from Season 1 to Season 2. Season 1, being a player for the Vipers at the end of the season after the ban on Ikios, which was a Vipers starter. He hopped in and played with Vipers. And he's a very mechanical player. He moves over to Melons Season 2, and I'm interested to see them go against Vipers. That's going to be an interesting series to see. And JD's just a really mechanical player. He knows how to break down the defense really well. And his performance has been really good starting this season, so he definitely does deserve a spot in the candidates.
Yeah, all three of these candidates definitely well deserving. And as we're going to do with all these Player of the Weeks, these will all be revealed Saturday night. Our first debut of Saturday Night Rocket League for season 2. Everything's going to go into 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys are interested in finding out who's taking home the Player of the Week, make sure you guys tune in the stream, stick around. Those will all be revealed then. But just a second here, we're going to move on to the Challenger League. All right, next up we have the Challenger League, and Challenger League was definitely interesting here. There was a lot to talk about for the Challenger League. I know last season the Challenger League, I think actually all of us played in the Challenger League, if I'm correct about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so last season all of us played in the Challenger League, and we got a new look Challenger League this season. The MMR for Challenger is a slightly different, goes from 1200, I believe, all the way up to 1424. So it's definitely a different range than last season. We got some new look teams this season, and a lot has changed hands. But looking first at the power rankings here for the Challenger League, we have the Drakes starting on top with 69 point total. Nice. And then followed up by Ascension, Flame, Orbit, Motion, and then our defending champion Samurai. They're down at 6. That is a little bit surprising to me. Samurai down at 6, but middle of the pack there on the power rankings. But they ended up going 1-1 this week, taking down Ascension 3-2, and then dropping to Spectre in their second match. And I'm going to bring it to you guys. What do you obviously you know about the Samurai from last season. You had a couple of matches with the Samurai. What can you say about this new look Samurai roster and how much it's different from what they had last season?
Yeah, I'd just like to appreciate that you pointed me out to do Samurai. As you probably might know, we fell to them during the grand finals last season, with their star player being Ventus. But they have, I believe everybody's migrated off of Samurai, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they completely new team. But I do know Lancer. He's from Origin last season. I know he was
True.
one of their better players until somebody decided to join out of nowhere. Won't name him, but yeah. So I know Lancer's like a really solid player, and I've played against him before, and he's definitely competed when I've played against him. But I haven't seen Yikes play too much, but I've seen him around the Discord, and I hear a lot of great things about him. But I definitely think they'll be a solid team, but I don't know if they'll be able to top what they had with Ventus, Meatwagon, and Sicky.
Yeah, Samurai last season were definitely a powerhouse. Like you said, I'm not too sure if the Samurai this season will be of the same caliber. But yeah, I definitely know you talked about Lancer. He was on Origin from last season, so I do know a lot about him. But he moved over to the Samurai. He's definitely a solid player. But yeah, they're sitting middle of the pack. They went 1-1 for this week, so it's not too crazy, not too bad. They're sitting technically tied for second in the Eastern Conference there, so still sitting right around the middle, right where they were ranked there. So Samurai, we'll keep an eye on them though. Obviously, the season is young. They're fighting to defend the title from last season. They got the new GM. We talked about Yikes. He's taken over for the man formerly known as Hypernova, who unfortunately got the KO. He's no longer with us. He's not dead. He's just not in the Discord anymore. He got banned. Rest in peace. But yeah, Yikes taking over there, and he's doing his best there, and we'll have to see if the Samurai can keep it up as they go on. But looking at a couple of these games that happened from week 1, there's nothing that too crazy that stood out to me throughout all these games. Obviously, we have some solid teams. Where I want to touch on those, but I mean, nothing too crazy. You see Ascension; they had back-to-back Game 5s, the only Game 5s in all of Challenger League. They lost the first one to Samurai 3-2, and then won the second one 3-2 over Motion. So the only Game 5s there, but we do have a familiar rivalry in the house here, and one or two of the three teams that are undefeated. We have Bishops and Drakes in the Western Conference. You guys know all about Bishops and Drakes. Bishops 2-0, Drakes 2-0. Other 2-0 team is Spectre. We'll touch on them in a second, but I'll bring it to you, Eminem. You've definitely seen the Bishops and Drakes before last season, one of our best rivalries. What can you tell us about, a little bit insight into last season and how things have changed for season 2 here?
Well, last season they both fell to Vortex. This season there isn't a Vortex, so that can't happen. But I can't tell you that last season both teams made roster changes mid-season that either helped their team or worsened their team. It depends on the perspective, but both teams were really good. Both teams had a chance to win it all. Obviously, did not happen because of Samurai. But both of those teams are really good. And this season, it seems like it's going to be the same type of rivalry. And Spectre being in top 4 last season, this seems like they can do it again this season as well. So I mean, it could be a repeat of last season if Samurai can keep it up.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. But yeah, these rosters are, they're definitely different. I think that's one of the things about adding that 4th league. We added the Titan League, as you guys all know about, which shifted these MMR boundaries. And we've also added a lot of new players to Nemesis in the past couple weeks and heading into season 2. So there are a lot of new faces around here. Just looking at a couple, we have Flying High, King. I think King Muff was around. We got Spork, Clamps, Ray Finkel, Renegade Gamer, Mirrorly, President, Mr. Krabs, all these new faces on these 2-0 teams. And Chipmunk coming into a league like this in a Nemesis season 2 to start out the first 2 games. That's got to be a pretty fun way to kick things off for your career in Nemesis.
Well, yeah, having high expectations being on, Drake's, Bishops, and Spectre, because all 3 of those teams were really high last season except for Spectre. They got, their team basically got wiped middle of the season last season, so they had a tough time in playoffs, but all those 3 teams still got top 4, so they had high expectations, and they're fulfilling them.
Yeah, definitely, and a lot of these players have stepped up on these 3 teams. And speaking of, we actually have the Player of the Week candidates for the Challenger League, and they are from all 3 of these teams that we talked about. And the first one we have is Mirrorly.
Yeah, Mirrorly, 553 score per game, 2 goals per game as well, 58 shooting percentage, and yeah, he's definitely a playmaker for Spectre. He also has an assist per game as well, also 1.43 saves. Definitely just a playmaker for Spectre.
Yeah, and Mirrorly, one of those new guys that we talked about on Spectre. They're able to come in and immediately make a difference for his team. He's the highest MMR player on the roster, sitting at 14-18 for Spectre, and you can definitely see why he is there. The new GM taking over for Illusions, mid-season change that just recently happened, where he took over for Illusions, and he being Quackbot, he's taken over for Illusions there. And Spectre starting out 2-0. Very solid start for them. So Mirrorly, one of the Player of the Week candidates for sure there. And next one we got on the list, we have another newcomer in Icons. Guys, what can you tell us about Icon?
Well, I know he transferred over here from another league because of his good old friend Benji, but he came up pretty big, being at the top 11-24 or 12-24. It's kind of a tough pick to make because not only does that take up like all your cap space, but he has to perform well if he's gonna be here. I meant 14-24 for before, but yeah, he's really a dangerous pick, but he's proving himself in this first week. So not a bad start coming out from Icon, putting up 547 score per game and shooting at 39, which could be a little bit better, but still not terrible. Almost averaging 2 saves per game. That's pretty insane, and 2 goals. So starting out 2-0, picking up for the Drakes. So I'd really like to see how he can finish out this season for them.
Yeah, for sure. I think, one of the things I always like watching is, seeing who performs early on in the season and seeing how they can carry that going forward. Are merely an Icon going to be 2 players to watch as we go throughout the season, or is this, a one-off good week? Because, for the player of the week, you only get 2 games or 2 matches for that week to kind of determine who is the best player in the, in that specific league for that week. And, it can really be anyone that week. Someone just steps up, has a big game, carries their team. Obviously, Drake's 2-0, Spectre 2-0. So I'll be curious to see if those guys can keep it up as we go forward. But we got one more candidate on the board here. We got our boy Clamps out here, all caps Clamps, coming in here, and he is our 3rd player of the week candidate from the 2-0 Bishops. Eminem, can you tell us about our boy Clamps?
Well, I can't tell you. Clamps does have the best name out of all the candidates, but not only that, he does have the same record as the other candidates, 2-0, just like merely an Icon. His score is he averaged about 400 score per game, 399 to be exact. He averaged 1 goal per game. He shot 35%, and he assisted 0.7 shots a game. So he's kind of banging it. You know what I'm saying? He might have been a little bit below merely an Icon, but let's be realistic. All right, it's Clamps. All right, if you take it into perspective, he honestly did better than Icon and merely, because he went 2-0 faster than they did, and he has 1.57 saves per game, which I don't think merely can say that about himself. Icon might be able to, but Icon can't say that he got 0.7 average assists per game. So I'm going to be honest, Clamps definitely in a high contending spot for the player of the week.
Hey, I think we're going to talk. I mean, you talked about his name, Clamps. I mean, 1.57 saves. It sounds like he's putting on the clamps there to me.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, Clamps, Icon, merely, those are your candidates for Player of the Week for Challenger League. Find out who's going to take it home on Saturday. But next, we are going to move into the Rival League. Is this thing on? Oh, yeah. Oh, it never turned off. Oh, we got the Rival League. Rival League, what's going on? For Rival League, we've got what do we have for the Rival League? We got Hydra, top of the power rankings, 64 points. Galaxy coming in at a close second, only 2 points behind. You have Lightspeed rounding this out at the bottom. And this I guess this is an interesting point that we haven't really talked too much about transactions or anything, but I know this transaction kind of shook up the Rival League a little bit. Maybe I say shook up because it was one of the only trades that really happened. It also involved my team, but this is the big one. It involved Proxy, who was drafted onto a Rival, not to be confused with Proxy Lols. There are 2 Proxies. I was going for the Proxy and Proxy show on my Rival team, but Proxy, he didn't want to stay. He wanted to leave us in the dust, and he went to Galaxy. So Proxy went to Galaxy for three picks: a season 3 first round, season 4 second, and season 5 second. And I don't want to be that guy, but Skies, I think I got a good trade out of that.
I could agree on that. Not gonna lie. You did kind of get quite a bit on that, but not gonna lie, you also did get a lot for me as well. I just gotta throw that in there. So I've been
I think
hearing a lot.
we'll talk about you later. I think we get to talk about you later.
We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that.
We got beef. We got beef.
Yeah. All right, yeah, sure. All right. But anyway, the proxy combo it just wasn't meant to be, man. But yeah, he was just a little bit confused as to, 'cause he said he never scheduled anything, but yeah, Galaxy kind of looks like a pretty decently contending team, but I don't know. I think you guys could easily turn up. So just kind of wondering how it's all going to play out throughout this season.
I do want to say that Galaxy, when we traded Proxy away from Arrival, and although Arrival we've started out 0-2 here, Galaxy hasn't fared any better. They're also 0-2, so I'm just saying.
I kind of wanna talk about Vortex being number 4 on the power rankings. We have me, obviously the best player in Rival League. We have the Eminem MVP, second best player. I mean, it's close, but not really, to me. But we also have Ori, who's the third best player. He's nowhere near me and Eminem.
And what did that get you? What did that get you this week, Jimmo?
Greatness. They got us greatness.
Some people call 0-2 greatness. Others would call it disappointment.
Others call it a Rockerman performance.
Hey.
The classic Rockerman performance. At least I know the light speed did.
Hey, whoa. Hey, you haven't had your stats yet. Don't worry. Lightspeed, I don't know. Lightspeed made some changes. They're coming back, dude. I'm just saying, Lightspeed, they might be kind of cracked. So
beating Arrival isn't a change. It's just a must.
Hey, dude, Lightspeed's coming back, dude. Just watch out. And Arrival's coming back too. You better be scared. I have rumors. I have inside sources. They may or may not be myself, but I have inside sources that Arrival's picking up a new fourth who could be a starting third, and it could be happening as soon as today when this video comes out.
Yeah, sorry, Ted, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Sorry, Ted. It's over, dude. It's over.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's happening. So, but looking around a little bit, a couple other matches that went down in the Rival League. We obviously, I think we talked about it a little bit. We had 2 expansion teams for this season. Obviously, the 2 new orgs I and orgs J. And in Rival League, that is Distortion, which is Teskimo's org. He's a new GM for org I. They took down Vortex in Game 5 in Week 1 or Game 1. You good there?
No, they didn't.
You good there, Eminem? I don't think he's good. That sounds like we need like a headphone warning right there. That sounded like right there. But yeah, Distortion won the first game, lost the second one to Hydra, who was number 1 in the power rankings. So they're 1-1 at the moment. But we got Blaze out there at 2-0, along with some of these other teams. We got Knights sitting at 2-0. They took down Arrival, and then they took down Parallax on stream. So solid performance from them. And then we got Hydra. They took down Lightspeed 3-1, and then Distortion 3-1. And then I just talked about Blaze. They took down the Kings 3-1 and Galaxy 3-2. So Blaze looking solid. And speaking of Blaze, that's going to bring us into our Player of the Week candidates. And the first Player of the Week candidate is Magic from Blaze. And Chimuk, what can you tell us about Magic and Blaze and how they've done in Week 1?
I can tell you a lot about Magic, actually. The carrier of Heck and Con, the carrier of Blaze, 400 score per game, 1.33 goals per game, 41% shooting. He's an offensive powerhouse, and he just carries the crap out of Heck and Con.
I mean that may be true. I think we're gonna need insight from Con and Heck. I don't think anybody here has played them yet, but with Heck and Con, especially Con, dude, probably getting carried. No offense,
especially
Con.
Heck.
I thought you were about to say especially Con, something good was happening in Hospital Lab.
He's about to laugh. Really? Are you about to laugh? Goodness. Anyways, moving on to our next candidate, we've got someone from last season who you guys have probably heard about. We have Benji from Hydra, who is 2-0. And guys, what can you tell us about Benji?
First of all, I just want to say you got to recognize the Hut, not only as a player but a lifestyle. And
no one knows what that is.
No one knows.
don't worry, you don't need to know. You don't need to know. If you don't know, then get with it quick. But basically,
how can we get with it if we don't know? Sorry to cut you off.
you just gotta figure it out, dude. It's the Hut. It's as simple as that. It's the Hut. Yeah, it's the Hut. Yeah. No, the Hut.
I'm pretty sure Pizza Hut's the Hut.
No. Benji is the
Pizza Hut. Please sponsor us.
No. The Hut. Not to be confused with Pizza Hut. The Hut. He's the lowest MMR in the rival league, so it's like pretty surprising that he had this come up. Everybody was giving him some just a little bit of trash talk last season while he was on the break.
Slap him.
It was like that for example.
Where did this beef come from?
Yeah, unnecessary beef just getting thrown right at Benji's face for no reason. But he's my guy, and he's kind of carrying the Hydra right now, especially on defense. With that 1.62 saves per game, pretty insane. And then Magma being the powerhouse on Hydra, the offensive powerhouse that is. And then they got this new pickup, Chax, who Magma knows. So he's gonna be playing a pretty big role with Hydra, continuing throughout this season. But yeah, Benji had a really solid week, and hoping the Hut can keep it going for the rest of the season.
The Hut, dude.
The Hut, dude. The Hut.
The
Right
Hut.
there. We got the Hut.
Nobody
Hut.
outpizzas the Hut.
That's true. And then we also get the trucker hat there. The Hut and the trucker hat, and then I don't even know about the other two out there. Master Alex and oh goodness. Nice. Very high quality.
Where was that?
Okay, cool.
He's gone. We've lost Eminem, folks. That was it. It was the last known recording of Eminem right there. He's gone.
Was he at Bacchus Mud again?
he's streaming Bacchus mod on Discord to us right now. Uninjected, waiting for you to start rocking. What? We've lost him. He's gone. Oh,
Mike,
hello.
Good.
Hey, we can see you muting and unmuting your mic. I just don't think I just think he doesn't want to talk about King.
All right, I'm good now.
Wait, what? He's still muted.
Wait, he's still muted. Wait, hold up. This man's back in Discord, dude.
Oh, he's insane.
Hacker.
Holy.
Dude, I didn't know. Dude, new update on Bacchus Mud for Discord. Not fair.
Discord, dude.
So let's talk about King Bob.
Yeah, sure.
I'm
Go
The
ahead.
clear MVP of Rival League for the season. I mean, the week candidate for the best player. I can't even speak.
Are you sure you're okay? What was that call all about there?
I don't know. Call? What do you mean call? It was obviously the song, dude.
Why? And then for no reason start streaming Bacchus
Right,
Mud.
dude, we're gonna get demonetized for that.
Dude. You're not getting monetized. I mean, we are getting monetized. King Bob, he might not have had the most score per game, which he should have because he's a beast. But he had the best offense, absolutely, out of between Magic, Benji, and King Bob. King Bob kind of just destroyed on offense. He averaged 1.43 goals per game, which is about twice Benji's and more than Magic's as well. His shooting percentage was 45%, which was higher than both Magic and Benji's, and his assists were 0.86 per game, also higher than Magic and Benji's. So if you don't see a pattern here, I don't know why not? Because he's clearly the MVP of the week, the player of the week, King Bob, absolute legend. 2-0 as well. Forgot about that part.
He is 2-0 for the Knights. So Blaze Hyder and the Knights, all the player of the week candidate for this week. We'll find out which one's going to be taken, and obviously these guys have their opinions. Definitely let us know about these guys and all the guys down in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' predictions before we announce everything on Saturday. So let us know in the comments what you guys think. But next, we're going to be moving on to our newly founded Titan League. All right, next up, we got this Titan League out here. New league in Nemesis, a new 4th league now. So Nemesis has 4 leagues ranging from Diamond 1 all the way up to Grand Champ. And this is 1,600 plus MMR. So Titan League, top league for Nemesis. Definitely crazy, a good addition. We're happy to add this and add the new expansion teams in the other 3 leagues. But Titan League only has 8 teams for this season. A little bit of a shorter schedule, only 14 games for Titan League as compared to the 18 for the other 3 leagues, but there is a lot more high-quality action in the Titan League. Obviously, the players are pretty insane here in the Titan League. And looking at the power rankings here, we had Pinnacle kicking things off on top with 70 points, followed closely behind by the Dragons. And Dragons, who everybody knows from last season, 10-2 in the regular season, best record in Nemesis last season in the regular season. Unfortunately, they dropped in the playoffs to the eventual champions, a rival league last season, the Knights. So Dragons were close second there, followed by Nebula, Grandmasters, Venganza, Inferno, Gravity, and Heatwave. But something I want to talk about first is the Dragons, and we can that'll bring a good talking point at the next part of this. But Eminem, the Dragons last season, they look pretty much unstoppable in the regular season. In playoffs, they kind of lost their touch, but it seemed to me like they had a lot of hype coming into this season, and they had a tough first game.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when you're going up against Skeezus himself and Venganza as a team, it's just very underrated coming into the season. They weren't prepared to go up against such a great team, and I mean, honestly, they were just caught on their heels, and they just once Venganza got going, they weren't getting stopped that game.
Skeezus, you have anything to add about that 3-0 sweep over the Dragons?
It was a pretty entertaining game, but I will say the Dragons were not playing up to their potential that game. But I feel like us on Venganza definitely played up to expectations that night, and it was a pretty fun game.
So what you meant to say is it was easy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Easy. Dude, rumor on the street is that you got carried. Your thoughts?
I will admit that first series, I was just a little washed, but that second series, I'm like 80% positive I had the most goals. Just saying.
I think the word on the street
but
is
then
wrong.
you guys lost.
But see now that's where the problem comes in, because I shouldn't be on top, but I was. So that just tells you I'm on top.
So you're blaming your teammates.
No. It's just we all didn't play well.
He said
No.
My teammates
I did not say that. No, you take that back. No. We as a team did not play up to standard, because if I'm doing the best, that means I'm not setting up my teammates to win. Yeah, you're just taking it the wrong direction, trying to make me look bad.
You look bad, Scott.
Hey,
As the right
guys,
league player.
The truth comes out.
Who didn't make playoffs last season? I'm sorry.
All right. Titan. All right, you need to calm down there. Anyways, back to the Titan League. We have, with the matchup that Sky was talking about, the second matchup, that was against Grandmasters, who are the new team in Org B this season. You'll recognize a lot of new names for the Titan League this season, being the new league. A lot of teams decided to go with new names. Some of the teams decided to move their rival league affiliate name up. But Grandmasters, they're from Org B, Cajun Miller's org, and they were ranked at 4th, kind of middle of the pack. I knew a lot of teams were talking about them, but they took down Gravity 3-0, took down Venganza 3-1, and they are one of the undefeated teams this season. I believe there's only two at the moment. Yes, there's only two: Grandmasters in the West and Nebula in the East. And Chipmunk, what can you tell us about the Grandmasters?
Well, I think, first of all, the win over Gravity was, it's Gravity, so I wouldn't really say that's much of an achievement, but the win over Venganza was definitely, they had to work for that one, because, Venganza's the best team in the league. So, yeah, I think, Venganza just didn't play up to their potential, and Grandmasters had 2 easy wins.
Interesting. I just realized? I am surrounded by the entirety of Org D right here. I'm the only one not in Org D at the moment, so we've got a Venganza fest over here for sure. But yeah, Gravity actually though. I know you said Gravity. It was a 3-0 sweep, and Gravity, they haven't won a game yet this season, but there is some hot trade action right off the press. Just happened a little bit ago. There was a transaction posted in there where Gravity has dropped Julian, and they have added tournament champion Goff, who you can see in the intro for the season, making it an insane save, one of the craziest saves I've ever seen in one of our bi-weekly tournaments. He is coming in the league for Gravity, and Skies. What do you think about this guy Goff coming into Gravity and what they could potentially have now with chemistry between Zayo and Goff both being from the same college?
So now here's the thing. That's a smart play, in my opinion, because it's either you have one guy who's over here farming a bunch of prospects in 6-mans versus a guy who actually won a tournament and did something pretty good with his time. So, honestly, I think it was a pretty good move.
Oh my goodness. Shots have been fired. My goodness.
Wow.
Wow. Well, I mean, Goff is, you got to give respect to that tournament champion role. It's not easy. There's a lot of sweaty teams that enter in the bi-weekly tournament, and Goff was definitely able to pull out a victory there. So he's definitely a player to watch for now entering the league play here. So I'm going to keep an eye on Gravity. They may not have won any games yet, but I honestly expect Gravity to turn things around, and I think as the season goes on, Gravity could be a team to watch for. But we'll have to keep our eyes peeled and see how it goes. But yeah, I think next that's going to bring us to the Player of the Week candidates for the Titan League. Obviously, this will be the first ever Titan League Player of the Week here. We've got some really good candidates, and let's start off with Chipmunk. What can you tell us about H?
Well, he's definitely the best player in the league. There's no doubt about it. Cause he might have had a slow game on Wednesday, but Monday was just insane. You saw him on stream. He was nuts. I mean, my man's is he played at LSU like an hour and a half ago, so. I mean, you can't really say he's not nuts.
I kind of have to agree. Watching him on stream, we talked about it. H absolutely carrying Skies. It was just a matter of fact. It happened. H, he's the carry. He's a big carry, and he's 1.29 goals per game, 1.57 saves. Skies is not even in the same ballpark. They're not even in the same stratosphere.
I would like to point something out. When you got a solid player like H on your team, you need somebody who's going to take that third man role. Luckily, they got this really solid player, by the way, named Skeezes on their team. I can't say I know too much about him, but I know he's a pretty solid third man. So he needs some people hyping him up a little bit. Come on, man, he's taking one for the team.
Well, yeah, no. Oh, well, dude, Eminem says yeah, no, so I guess it's a yeah, no. But we know you can tell us about Skies. We may not want to hear about that. What you can tell us about is what do you know about Fishy here from Grandmasters?
So, with Fishy just joining the league this season, teaming up with his brother Bubbly. It's a pretty scary team when you team up the two brothers, but alongside Foam, who's also taking a third man role. He's really solid on defense, and he basically just lets Fishy and Bubbly go up field and control midfield and all the offense. So it's definitely a solid trio, and it's a scary team. You really have to watch out for them, especially with Bubbly being so aggro on those demos and just trying to disrupt all the rotations with everybody stealing the boost, wasting all the boost, doing other things with boost. But definitely a dangerous team.
Yeah, for sure. Grandmaster is 2-0 on the season. Fishy had a great first week here. He had 2.29 saves per game for the rival league. I believe that's tops per game. Minimum of at least 5 games, but he's definitely popped off there. He's definitely near the top in the saves and definitely a player of the week candidate there for sure. And our last player of the week candidate comes via Eminem. Eminem, what can you tell us about our boy Cookin' Bagels?
Well, Cooking Bagel's just an absolute solid player, an absolute masterclass of a Rocket League player. And we saw on stream Wednesday, me and Rockerman commenting ourselves, got to see it straight from the game, straight from the spectating view. Cooking Bagels averaging a 405 score per game. A great thing you would love to see from Cooking Bagels in the top league in Rocket League history. You also have 1.25 goals per game, which let's just talk about how that's much more than Fishy, just about the same as H. Very very similar there between H and Cooking Bagels, two masterclass players, but Cooking Bagels does have a higher shooting percentage, which we do need to prove H to be a worse shooter than Cooking Bagels. It looks like because Cooking Bagels has 42% shooting rate, while H only has a 38%. And if we're gonna talk about it, Cooking Bagels is just the better player. I mean, he's got the highest saves per game average, and out of all of these three players, 1.62. He's got a 5-3 game record. Absolutely amazing. And Cooking Bagels he's just not one to be reckoned with. He's just such a good player. He's definitely deserving this spot of a candidate for the player of the week, and he definitely deserves that win.
I'd like to add one quick thing. I didn't quite see H play against Gravity. I couldn't help but notice. Rather, the other two did. So maybe, just say maybe that helped on the shooting percentage just a little bit. Just saying.
I'd also like to point out that MVP is really stupid because basically he said Bagels had the highest saves per game, and that was wrong because 50 had 2.29 saves per game, while Bagels had 1.62.
You clearly were forgetting that you're wrong.
Anyways, at the end of the day, all these three players, great players for sure in the Titan League, definitely all deserving. We'll see who's going to be getting those Player of the Weeks on Saturday Night Rocket League. And speaking of Saturday Night Rocket League, we got to talk about that. That is coming up later tonight when you're watching this video. Saturday Night Rocket League starting things off at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have the defending Season 1 champions in Origin taking on Velocity. Origin, they dropped their first matchup of the season in a close Game 5. We talked about that one earlier against Melons. Obviously, Melons a solid team. Origin's going to be looking to fight back here on Saturday Night Rocket League. Velocity, they took down a 3-1 victory over the Wyverns. So both these teams are going to be fighting for it. It's a Saturday night debut here. What are you guys expecting here? Eminem, I want to bring it to you. What can you expect out of these two teams coming into our first match on Saturday Night Rocket League for Season 2?
Well, I'm expecting honestly a pretty easy win for Origin. If Origin has been they were kind of underrated in my opinion, getting put in the middle. I think they are a very solid team, and they're a major threat to all of the prospect teams. While Velocity, on the other hand, they might not be the worst team, but they could be. So I mean, let's just see what happens Saturday. I'm expecting Origin to take the dub. I mean, overall, it's just they did win. They did win the whole league last season. And I'm expecting it to be a really similar season. Besides Vipers taking the league and them getting second, but you know, I mean, that's what I'm expecting for this first game on Saturday.
Fair enough. I mean, Origin definitely a solid team, but we'll have to see. That would be an interesting game. I think Velocity is definitely going to give them a run for their money on Saturday Night Rocket League. That one's getting going at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then following that one at 8:45 p.m. Eastern, we have the Dragons taking on Inferno, and this is going to be a great matchup in my opinion. We basically have a rematch from last season of the top two teams in the rival league. We've got the Dragons, who are keeping the same starting roster with Els, Ryan O'Neal, and Edwin in the Titan League now. And then we've got Inferno, formerly the Knights. We've got Jump, Legendary J, P Fox, and now Tyler, their highest player at 18-18. So they lost Cook and Bagels there, went over to Pinnacle. They picked up Tyler. Skies, what can you tell us? What can you tell us about this matchup and maybe who you think is going to pull off the victory?
I'm gonna put my money on Dragons for this one, mainly because at this point I feel like everybody's just gonna start doubting them just because of what happened on that first day. But in reality, they're still one of the top contending teams. With Rhino still coming back, getting warmed up into the game. Also, not many of you may know this, but they really don't play together. So they really just hop into a match and just start playing. So, and just the fact that they destroyed the league last season says something. So, but I don't know. I haven't seen Tyler play, but I've heard many good things about him. So, who knows? Maybe they could pull off the dub here, and I'm just curious to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be an interesting night for a Saturday night Rocket League debut for season 2. Super excited to bring this back for this season. There will be a lot of action going on there. We obviously talk about the player of the weeks. They will all be announced then. We'll have stream voting, so you guys will be able to decide who is going to be streamed on Monday. So make sure you guys tune into the stream. Stick around. There'll be voting on there, so you guys can toss your votes in there. Pick who's going to be streamed on Monday. So definitely get your votes in there and stay tuned for the players of the week. It'll all be revealed Saturday night at the end of the stream after Dragons versus Inferno. So definitely stick around and make sure you guys go follow the Twitch and get ready for the action. It's going to be happening later tonight if you're watching this video on Saturday. But yeah, any final words, Chipmunk? I'll bring it to you first. Got any final words?
I mean, I hope you just have a great time watching Saturday Night Rocket League. First Saturday Night Rocket League of the season should be a fun one.
For sure. Eminem?
Absolutely, and I'm just excited to see Vortex turn this season around. So yeah.
Skies, any final words from you before we end things off?
Yeah, I'm also excited to see Vortex possibly make it to the playoffs if they do end up throwing. But yeah, I'm excited for Saturday.
All right.
It's not a possibility. It's gonna happen.
All right.
There you go.
Mark
you go.
words.
You heard
Mark words right there. This sounds like a soundbite we'll be hearing later. Vortex making the playoffs. You heard it from these three easily there.
And then throwing in the first round
is going to happen.
That is a sound.
Throwing in the first round. Mark my words.
All right. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for us, guys. First week in review of Nemesis for season 2. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Toss us a like if you feel so inclined, and make sure you guys check out the Twitch. We'll see you guys this Saturday, today when you're watching this video, and we'll be back next week for another week in review. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Outro music.
Don't strike us.
I think I need therapy or just some more whiskey. I can't seem to understand how you do this to me. You've been running in circles.